Guys, how are you doing, Giancarlo?
I'm doing well, Stefan. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. I've just watched because I'm quite new to the Godfather of Harlem, but I've been watching it the last couple of days, and I think it's really brilliant TV. I was just wondering because one of the things that kind of struck me was it just shows that gangsters and criminals can come in so many forms. And I was just wondering, as a kind of actor who's played in the kind of criminal underbelly before of the kind of streets, I just wondered if you've learned to never judge a book by its cover when it comes to human beings, because I guess because in so many cases the criminals and gangsters really do hide in plain sight, don't they?
Yes, I do, and I certainly have come to learn that. I think maybe I'm one of the rare actors who, or few actors, or who have realized through my experience that people are human, and we have a black and white side, and we have to oftentimes make a choice, just as Bumpy Ellsworth Johnson had to make a choice after coming out of prison, after ruling and running Harlem for many years, the drug trade, the prostitution trade, and then going to jail and keeping his word and not snitching on the Italians, and then for years going to jail, San Quentin, and then coming out having to he had a choice. He could go straight, he could go back to his old ways that he knew, and this was a genius man as well, played chess and read poetry and wrote poetry and was really bright and an unbelievable human being, but that was his choice to make a living. And so, yes, you can never judge a book by its cover. I had the opportunity to play Gustavo Fring, over 10 years ago on Breaking Bad, and continued into Better Call Saul. And that was my choice, to make a human being and not a stereotypical gangster.
Mm. Oh, so when it came to that wasn't necessarily on the page that Vince wrote, but did you have a lot of say then in making Gus a very human role?
Well, I deferred when asked to be a part of that show as a regular, to be able to have a conversation. I went in as a guest star. I did one episode. They called me immediately, said, "Will you do another one?" And so I deferred to be able to speak to Vince, and that's kind of unusual. Actors, you're supposed to just get the script, read your lines, and do what you're supposed to do. I wanted to speak to the showrunner because I had an idea out of something that he wrote in his stage direction. It was one sentence: hiding in plain sight. Yeah. And I thought, that's the key. Then I'm creating a human being who lives right next door to you. I'm creating someone who goes to work every day, and you may think he goes to his little chicken place and does his routine, but underneath it, he's hiding something. So the wonderful part of Godfather of Harlem is that, and I get this imagery immediately of Forest Whitaker, who does such a brilliant job playing Johnson, of he at home with his wife and his child. He has a normal kind of life. He's an upstanding father. All of these things. That vision in the '60s was incomprehensible, where most African Americans were living in a slum housing, some owned by Johnson, others owned by the Italians, and felt like they had no way out. Bumpy realized the only way for him to be that affluent human being was to run illicit drugs and illicit alcohol and the numbers racket in Harlem, because he'd have a better life. Whether it was better or not, maybe it was economically more feasible and more comfortable for he and his family, but that's the life that he chose.
Because obviously you were in Malcolm X all those sort of years ago. Was it quite interesting in being in the Godfather of Harlem and being back on the kind of same streets in the same communities and the same kind of characters, but obviously in a completely different role in a completely different project? But was that quite a strange nostalgia trip in some ways to go back into that same environment?
Yes, in many ways it was. I did do Malcolm X with Spike Lee, and we did shoot all over Harlem. But I have a history with Harlem from my mother, who performed at Radio City Music Hall and then did a stint at the Apollo, and he used to go to Tomford's. And so I listened to all of her stories when I was young, and they all come back to me now. She's passed on now, but I remember her telling me stories about Sidney Poitier, who had a restaurant. Sidney would be on Broadway doing a Broadway show, and then would go to Harlem and be in the kitchen cooking. Very industrious, very social environment. She used to go to a place called Tomford's restaurant, which was a delicatessen where African Americans, much like Schwab's in California, where actors and actresses are discovered. Tomford's was a place in Harlem where you could be discovered as an African American person. So anytime I go to Harlem, I remember going to the upstairs church of storefront preacher J.P. Moody back when I was 10, 12, 13 years old, going to a place that carried all of the incenses and candles and all the stuff, Rendon's, which was on the Spanish side of Harlem. So I know Harlem really well because I grew up in and out of there. You know, I would be racing to a Broadway show on 57th Street to make half hour. I was always late. So, you know, it's like my mother would be driving and we'd have to get off the highway at 125th Street because the West Side Highway was all jammed up. And we'd have to go through Harlem and down the streets to get to the theater. So I have a long history with Harlem. And immediately I get nostalgic because I feel that the Harlem that I knew as a boy is very different. And yet to be in it in Godfather of Harlem takes me back to that period of time that I knew. I could, because we have period cars and we have such a great art department, great writing that really depicts these characters as who they were. Now, historically, we maybe bend the book a little bit, but not so much so that we aren't in the realm of believability of what these characters experienced and how they lived their lives.
And of course, I mean, Harlem, like you said, is a place you know well. Over time, I guess Albuquerque has become a place you know well. So, and I'm just a huge fan, obviously, of Better Call Saul. I was wondering about just a quick update on season 6, because I know did that get started just before the pandemic? And what's it like to when you kind of sit down? Because I mean, Vince is obviously just a complete genius, but do you get as excited as we do when you first get those scripts to see what he's done with the character and what he's going to be up to?
I sure do. I want to make a point to say that Peter Gould is our showrunner and also our head writer. And so I want to be inclusive of him and acknowledging, yes, Vince is brilliant. He still does work on our show. We were slated to go in September. We now look like we'll be going in March. We have a brilliant team of writers, of course. And so it's always exciting to think about getting back to work. We didn't get a chance to get back to work on season 6. I'm so excited for Vince and Peter and Melissa Bernstein, our producer, to be going back to 6 sometime in March. And I know Vince has said to me, "Hey, you're going to be busy." So this is a show that is a writer's medium, an actor's medium, and a director's medium. All 3 get to shine on this show because it's so very inclusive of our place of Albuquerque. It's a very, very specific way of shooting. It leaves space. It leaves time. And so this is what makes this show very, very different. I love working on Godfather of Harlem in that it has a snappier pace. Because the time was, you know, jazz music in Harlem in the church. My character's Adam Clayton Powell Jr., so I do a lot of preaching in a church, rousing kind of feeling. Very, very different than Saul, which is a more lulling kind of spatial feeling. So there are different elements that we work out, and I'm so in praise of the folks at Godfather, and I've been bowing down to Vince and Peter, the folks at Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad before that, for the tone. You know, our lives take a tone naturally. And if we make the right choices, the tone is hitting the right note that pleases us. So we create that and we choose a tone and a feeling of what we're about in our lives and what we're trying to express through the characters I play as an actor. I can take it personally, and what is my through line? And so this show has been great because it's taken me to another level to be able to play a guy who's complete. You see all of him. Gustavo Fring, you see only a certain part of him because he is a mystery. And what you don't see is what is peeled away little by little allows you to think about and fill in the blanks. Maybe he's going to do this. Maybe he did that. Maybe he's from here. Maybe he's from there. But it's chilling to you in a way because of the mystery of it. In Godfather of Harlem, I play a character. You see all of who he is. Adam Clayton Powell was completely in his own skin. He was not ashamed to be an African-American person. He was not ashamed to say, I'm equal to you. He was not ashamed to allow you to know how smart he was, how progressive he was. And he was not ashamed to live his life. Smoking, drinking, womenizing. That's who I am. But he did his work. 868 bills in Congress, pushed those through. So very different characters. But what I do have to applaud is the tone.
Yeah.
You know, as the tone of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad has such a depth in its visual orientation, the tone of Godfather of Harlem has a very interesting musical element to it with Swizz Beatz, who did our contemporary soundtrack to illuminate and enlighten and not have our history that is so tragic be so heavy. It makes it have more variance. And so there's pop to Godfather of Harlem. Of course, there's you know.
Yeah, there's a great musicality to it, I thought. Yeah, really loved it. But I just have time for one last question. I was just going to ask you, because obviously The Mandalorian season 2 is something everyone's kind of excited about. Just wonder what you can tell us a little bit about Moff Gideon and what it's like to see Baby Yoda up close and personal. Is he as cute, or is it as cute as it looks in real from the TV screens?
Oh, come on. I mean, if he looks that way on TV, he's even cuter in person. The Mandalorian is a wonderful show. And I always try to link up what my tone is, as I just spoke about, to what I'm doing. And although I'm playing the Moff, who seems to know everything about the movement of what's happening in the galaxy and whose side everyone's on, and he wants something, you have something I want. And he is searching for that child, even given that position that I have, which has been a dream. I get a chance to wear a cape and I work the cape, which is like Halloween every day. I take it very, very seriously to be able to figure out how to have me be fluid physically. I get a chance to have the dark saber, which is historical. Star Wars fans are so absolutely intelligent about all of the history behind the Darksaber, all the history about what that means, created by the very first Mandalorian ever. So how does Moff Gideon have it, which is totally fantastic. But the show impresses me because it's about the power empowerment once again. It's about being in service to someone else. It's about being a hero. It is the ultimate space Western. And for me, it links up with the ideology and writings of Joseph Campbell. And if you go back and look, and I love George Lucas for having been privy and seeking out the larger mythological elements, ideas that links to our humanity. So Joe Campbell, The Power of Myth, we learned about him from Bill Moyers. The power of mythology is the power of empowerment to understand how history propels you into a position, and then you make a choice how you want to move through that. And to me, it's an iconic show because it allows you to see the possibilities. And this is why our young people, our middle-aged people, and our older people are loving this show. Because it truly, also because Baby Yoda is so cute, and has such great powers. And when you learn how old Baby Yoda is, you're like, what? But it gives you the feeling that you could be empowered to be that. And so the struggle is with ourselves. How do I overcome my own ego, my own lust, my own jealousy, my own guilt? How do I overcome that and learn to be in service to others? And this is the key, I think, to life. Because when you do something that is kind or in service, it feels good because you're not doing it for a particular reason that might benefit you. And I think about yesterday, like the snow started falling here and, it's starting to get wet and all that. And I happened to notice a lady across the street who I've never met. I've been in and out of here for maybe a year because I wanted to have some place as an anchor when I get back to Better Call Saul. And so I see her and her windows are gated and her door is gated because, Albuquerque is can be a little bit rough. And what is she doing? She's got to be 80 something years old. She's pulling this box and trying to get it in the house. So I've seen her, I've waved and once in a while. So I kind of started across the street and say, hey, you need help? Because, I'm a black guy. right? So I gotta be careful. Don't want to like scare anybody. Still today, I gotta feel that way, right? So I stopped in the street. Can I help? And she kind of waved, and I thought she was waving me off. So I turned around and started to walk back. And I happened to be dressed nice because I had interviews yesterday, so I was in a nice suit and everything else. And then I see her saying something to me, but I can't hear her. So I walk up to her door. She said, "Yeah, if you could just help me push it inside." And I said, "Yeah, I'll get it to wherever you need." It's a big, huge TV set in a box. And then I'm in her house now, get it behind her coffee table. And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, I'm Betty, by the way. You're my neighbor." And I said, "Yes, I am. I'm the guy who always waves to you once in a while." And she said, "Thank you so very much." But that lingered. That stayed with me. That it wasn't, what stayed with me was the feeling of it. Was like, that felt good. Damn, that was easy for me to do. Why don't I do more of that every day? Like, that felt good. Yeah. And so when you experience that, you realize if I get out of my own skin, get out of my own body, stop thinking about what I need, I, you stop thinking about the I and the me, and you start thinking about the we, me and Betty, and the us, your life changes. Yeah. Your life changes. Because then that one moment gives you the experience of, and certainly I've had a great experience with Godfather of Harlem. I've had the experience of playing this man who was so full of life, so real, so huge. I've had the experience of being in a room with Forest Whitaker, who's playing Bumpy Johnson, and my character, I say, no, Bumpy, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, and Bumpy looks at me like, well, you're a black man. Look, we may be the same color, but that just doesn't sit well with me. And this is we as people, we look, oh, you're black like me, you should be on my side. Like we divide ourselves in a way that is so very ingrained and unconscious today. And so Godfather of Harlem is all about that. Yeah. It's all about that feeling, that one moment where I go, should I get any closer because I am black and she may be afraid of me. Right? Ingrained deep within our physical bodies. Like when I used to walk down the street in New York, and I always wondered, I came from Europe, from Denmark when I was 5 years old, from Italy, where my brother was born, my father was born. And I have to say that, I came to New York and I wondered why, I'd walk down the street and there'd be a white woman look over her shoulder and see me and pull her pocketbook closer to her. I'm like, well, what was that? Like, what was that? And I quickly realized, oh, I'm a threat. Then you think that and you live that and it becomes in your DNA. So Godfather of Harlem is trying to bust all those walls down to say, and show us like what the struggle has been, and show us, look at us today. Have we really moved so far? Has it become less overt and more covert? Well, people have feelings about each other. And until those walls are broken down and we understand, well, the one great thing that happened, Black Lives Matter movement, with all of these incredibly horrible and sad deaths of African-American men at the hands of the police, is that it brought the world together. In Holland, in Italy, in France, in Czechoslovakia, people were marching. People who weren't black, people of all colors, and we forget that. Godfather of Harlem reminds us that the Jews marched with us. Jewish people were the ones who helped the black movement survive in the 60s, right? And yet, how can you come out of a movement like that and be black and hate a white person, hate a Jew? How can you do that? They helped us gain our freedom, our equality, but we're still not free because we're still afraid of each other as human beings because we can't give it up. We just can't give it up because we're tribal. And so until that attitude and those tribal elements change, which is started to happen, surrounding all that's happened in the world now we're in a place of pandemic where we don't want to cover our mouths because it's a little harder for me to breathe. I understand that. We don't want to cover up because it's my freedom to be able to spew my saliva anywhere I need to be, right? Because I'm thinking about me. But when I started to think about, oh, shoot, I don't want to risk putting someone else at risk, then it goes on easy to me. because you know what? I'm not only trying to protect myself, I care about you. I want to protect you too, you know, because you're a wonderful journalist who's going to write all about me. Right? You get the point, right?
Yeah.
It's not about what I want. It's not a quid pro quo or trade. Yeah. It's really about respecting you just because you have that beautiful smile. Yeah. When will we get there? Don't get me to preaching now, because I'll be in the pulpit like Powell at the
Oh man, I could have gone on. Honestly, I could speak to you for hours. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm all out of time.
You got me fired up. You've been out of time. I know they've been peeking you, but that's okay, because time is relative. I know we have set parameters, but you know, when the magic happens, let it happen. Let it spark. Thanks for listening to my diatribe. It's so nice to be with you.
Thank you so much. And say hello to Betty next time you see her as well.
I certainly will. She was out there sweeping. I don't have a snow shovel, so I was laughing and saying, I got to go get a snow shovel. And but she just gave me, she was just out there sweeping her sidewalk with a broom. So I could just use my broom. So she just taught me something.
Brilliant. All right, have a lovely rest of the day and take care. And best of luck with the shoot for Better Call Saul as well. Can't wait
Thanks
to see
so much. Keep watching.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Okay.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You